you've got two bones. You've got a larger one and a smaller one. So when it's connected, most students can figure out which one's out, but students don't really have trouble figuring out which one's which. They'll just mix up the fibula and the radius, because all of a sudden when all these bones start just getting thrown together, so you kind of want to make sure that you could grab the bone and say, this is it, this is this. And once you learn the bone, then you work on the features. So you guys that are here today, I would tell you, call me over and I'll grab a bone and I'll say, what's that? And you should be able to say it. And that's going to help you. Then once you do that, you can start learning the features. Because people will put head and they're thinking I'm going to give them credit, but they'll put head of the humerus, and that's not the humerus bone. So I'm glad you knew it was a ball that looked like a head, but you got the wrong dang bone, and that's kind of important. Okay, so knowing the bone's kind of important here. So this one's connected to a foot. And so just like your radius is always on your thumb side, your tibia is always on your big toe side. And your tibia is your larger bone. I had a student a couple of semesters ago that said the tibia is tubby. So it's the tubby one. And then someone in lecture, and you guys may be online, I don't know, the fibula, they say, is fragile. So it said another teacher had told them that. So the fibula is fragile and can get broken quite, if you look at it, it is a much more fragile looking bone. This is it without being connected. When they're connected, students are like, oh, okay, I know which one's which. Okay, but when they're not. So your femur sits on top like this, and then your kneecap, we have a whole leg somewhere that has a kneecap with all the ligaments and stuff. I don't know where he is right now. So your kneecap sits right in between them, held together by all those ligaments that you can tear in your kneecap when people tear their ACL and stuff like that. So can you see there? So this is making contact with which of these two bones? The tibia. So the femur and the tibia. And the reason this is important, because if we go back to the femur, what was this bump here called? The back of the, well, this is the whole thing. Medial or lateral? Medial. This was medial because there's the head, right? There's the head, medial. The medial of this guy touches the medial of that guy. You see it? The lateral of this guy is going to touch the lateral of this guy, because we're about to name this. So they're touching. And these are also called condyles as well. So this has a medial and lateral condyle. This has a medial and lateral condyle. And if you know this bone should be in the middle of your, and we're going to talk about how you know which side. So this bone, the larger one, the tibia, we've got two of these flat spots here, and I'm sorry that these are not called heads. They're actually called condyles. You got the medial condyle, the lateral condyle. Why are they called that? Because condyles are where two bones are articulating, and so the femurs condyles sit on top of the tibia's condyles. Makes sense? We're going to label here in a moment. How you can tell on which one's medial and lateral when you just got a dang bone and they're not connected, because you're going to look for this little thing that's sticking out. Do you see that? This little thing that's sticking out down here. That on most bones you would think, oh, it's a styloid process. It's bigger than a styloid process, so it's not a styloid process, even though it looks like a styloid process. If you feel down and you feel that bone right there in your ankle, that's what you're feeling. That right there. Inside. The outside is not what you're feeling. There is one on the outside, but that's a different bone. Because the tibia is on the big toe side. So go down your big toe side and feel that bone poking out. That's that. So is that medial in your body or lateral in your body? It's medial. Yeah. So this is the medial side of this bone. The head is the medial side of, that's how you got to get great, because you will not get credit for getting medial and lateral wrong. Great, you knew it was a condyle, but it's kind of important to know which one's which. So this is medial side. So this is the medial condyle, this is the lateral condyle. If we come down this side, this is actually called the medial malleolus. Medial malleolus. We're going to label this in a moment. It's a malleolus instead of a styloid processes because it's a lot larger. Styloid processes are usually smaller, like up in your radius in your ulna. All right. Right here on the front of this bone, it feels sharp. Do y'all feel it? When you feel across it, it feels sharp. You have to get which you got to find the front of the bone. You'll know that's the front of your bone because it feels sharp. It just looks like it feels, that's your shin. You know where your shin is? You don't want to get hit in the shin. That's your shin. But we don't call it shin. It's called the anterior crest. Anterior because it's on the front. Crest means it's a straight line, narrow ridge is what a crest is. So your anterior crest, that's the sharp pointy area on the front of this bone. Go back up to these condyles at the top here. Up at the top. You feel right out in front of this bone, there's this rough area. So you see feel the rough area there? Rough area is a tuberosity. This is the tibial tuberosity, because this is the tibia, this is the tibial tuberosity. So we're about to label this bone, but we have a few things. First off, what's the name of this bone? This is the tibia, okay? Not tibula, tibia. It's the smaller word, bigger, squattier bone. So tibia. On the bone, we can always find this little point that's sticking out that's making up your part of your ankle bone there. You see. Most people think those are your tarsals, but that's actually not. It's this that you're feeling. So this is called the medial malleolus because it's medial side on your body. And so if I know this is the medial malleolus, I know that these condyles, these two blips at the top, the one that's on the same side would be the medial condyle. The one that's on the opposite side would be the lateral condyle. There's the condyles, and then there's this rough area. That rough area where a muscle is going to attach, it's actually some ligaments from this thing going on there. So it's where it's where the part of the ligaments that's going to hold your kneecap in there. So right there, that is the tibial tuberosity. Remember, rough area is always a tuberosity for muscle or ligament attachment. And that one in case would be okay. So, and then if we come down this really, you can feel it. It's your shin area. That's called the anterior crest. Anterior crest. All right, let's label that guy. All right, so I've got them here blank and blank. So the one that is on the outside is which one? This thin one here. That's the fibula. Fibula. And then the larger one is the tibia. So we just had a conversation about the tibia. So here's that thing, and this is found where in your body? This little thing, inside or outside your body? This one. It's on the inside. This is always going to be your big toe. Is right there. So hopefully your foot's in between there. But so that thing is where your big toe is. Your big toe is always. It's not where your big toe is, but it's on the same side of your body where your big toe is. Okay. So this is going to be your medial malleolus. It looks like the word mal, then E-O-L-O-U-S. Malleolus. Malleolus. This is not doing a great job, so I'm going to draw like a line here. This is basically your shin. You do not get credit for the word shin, but it is a very It's called the anterior crest. You would say anterior crest of the tibia. Anterior because it's on the front. Crest because it's a sharp, narrow line. Anterior crest. So you can feel it. It's a real narrow ridge there. So if we go up this bone, we know that this is medial side because that's where that medial malleolus is. So if I go up, these two little flat areas is going to connect to your femur. And so this one would be your medial condyle. And the one over here would be the y'all with me so far? This area right here is a rough area. It's rough. You do not get credit for putting rough. Some people are doing that. That rough area there that's right underneath those is actually called the tibial tuberosity. Tuberosity is some sort of rough area. And I actually made me say on the thing, name the rough area. Tibial because it's on the tibia bone. All right, how are we? Okay, we just have a couple of things to learn on the fibula. So we have the head of the fibula, and so the fibula's head is the rounded area here. So that is the head. We don't have to name the neck, but technically the neck would be right underneath it. So, but that's not one of the things. And do you know how we have the medial malleolus on this bone? This actually makes up the one that's on the outside. It's a different bone. So this thing here, feel down on your ankle. You can feel that one that's inside and the one that's outside. This is the lateral malleolus. So this would be the lateral malleolus of the fibula. This is the medial malleolus of the tibia. They're on different bones, but it's making up basically your ankle, what people consider their two ankle bones. It's technically not your ankle because your ankle is right underneath that. You can see it on this little guy pretty well. Can you see you're hanging down? So your ankle bones are here, but these are the two things you're feeling. When you put your hand down there on your face, you're feeling those two malleoluses. That's what you're feeling. How are we? Online, how are we? Oh, that other little line there, that's just pointing to, it's just naming the bone. And so that is your fibula. I didn't have it. This was supposed to be saying tibia, but I really wanted you to do the anterior crest, so I went ahead and did that. So I just still pictures that I can work with. All right, how y'all feel about those?